This was exactly what I wanted. My work is done, ladies and gentlemen. A community of a video game at the top of its genre critiquing and expressing their displeasure of how shit it's got. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a video we're going to do about the current topic of Dead by Daylight and the current situation and everything that surrounds the game and all this kind of shit, right? There's going to be a bit of I told you so in this particular video because I've been doing this shit for years. It's only recently become the cool, hip thing for streamers to do. So all those video essays you're now seeing from your big streamers and all this kind of shit, this guy did it first. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not somebody who's concerned with the whole giving a shit about which way the wind dial's pointing and caring about me sub count. Two little topics I want to discuss in this little video, fellas. The first one, well, the second one will probably branch into a couple of topics, but we'll go for the first one first. Reverence, ladies and gentlemen. The pass that is almost certainly dedicated to, you know, teasing the upcoming divine killer we're going to be getting by virtue of the community's input in the Grimoire. This pass is monumentally dog shit, quite honestly. It is fucking wank, dude. The Trickster skin that is currently heralded as the top of this pass is just complete inconsistent slop and is very low quality and does not match the aesthetic of the game at all. And I'm kind of hoping this isn't a teaser of things to come with the actual killer, which I don't think it will be, because there's a couple of design choices with the Trickster style of skin that's just fucking stupid, like his pants and his boots. There's already been a couple of things popping up on Reddit about how to fix this skin, and they've been pretty solid with what people have come up with. But, you know, it's probably not going to get changed because, yeah, you don't change things. So the pass, ladies and gentlemen, this particular pass that we've now got for 110 days, there is basically no reason to play the game if you are not going to buy it. Basically, they have removed literally everything from the free track. The only things that are in there now are the Adam skin and the Dredge skin. The Dredge skin's caused a bit of a stir. By virtue of it, you know, the first-person arm's taking up about 60% of the fucking screen whenever you're playing as it. Again, because we don't play test it or quality assure things, we just make shit and fire it out. And the other half of that argument with the Dredge, or topic with the Dredge skin, is that the community's in uproar because it don't look anything like the source material. The original creators actually come forward on Twitter and said that he did actually like it. So I kind of feel bad for that guy, to be honest, because everybody's shitting on the skin at the moment, but it's not really his doing, you know. But anyway, as I say, the actual pass itself, very shit. As I say, there's no recolors, or bonus recolors, I should say, free recolors. We've shifted to a very shit model of basically just doing 4 skins and just basically filling the rest of the pass with recolors. The stuff that's been in Deep Rift, they've named the first iteration of the previous Deep Rifts into Altered now, for the sake of putting that shit into the actual pass just before the actual, you know, reaching the end of it and getting to Deep Rift. So they basically just slid that back and give it a new title at the end. So they can justify, or try to justify, selling you another recolor rather than actually putting some effort in and making some fucking skins for the stuff that you're supposed to be paying for and you're actually giving your money to them for, you know. As far as the theming goes and all that kind of stuff, this is just something else I want to briefly touch on as well, because I'm going to go into different things in this video. It's going to be a bit of a blanket video for everything that's going on. I've seen this sentiment. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I've seen some other people say this as well, and it's something that I've shared for fucking years, an opinion I've had for years, and I've started seeing people cropping up out of the woodwork sharing it. I vastly prefer the passes back in the day that were more about when survivors were regular people, rather than some fucking divine shit that's been added to the game now, where they turn them into like gods and shit like that, running around amongst fucking civilians. You know, when you actually see the cosmetics in the game, that kind of stuff, where it's like you've got this Claudette skin that's obviously supposed to be this fucking divine entity running alongside Dwight. You know, all this kind of shit. It's really fucking inconsistent and clashing, and that's what I'm going into here, because these days the passes aren't about the characters anymore. They don't do the lore stuff anymore. It's not about dedicating a pass to a select amount of characters and then giving those characters lore and expanding on their real world actual canon universe stuff. Now it's all a case of overgrowth, giving them fucking flowers and dresses and all this kind of shit, some kind of flower cult shit, entombment, catacombs, putting skeleton shit all over them, and inconsistent, unrealistic bollocks all over the pass, you know? And now, obviously, Reverence, turning them all into fucking angels and clerics and all this kind of shit. Why don't we, as a horror game, go back to when it was about the people, the killers, the people, you know, the actual backstories of those characters? I couldn't fucking care less about the lore behind Trickster in his fucking divine skin. Don't give a shit. Don't care, right? I don't care about that, and I think the skin is shit. It's a lose-lose, right? At least if it was about the lore and it was about something that would be painted as though it would be something that he'd wear in the actual world, and it was actually Ji-Woon, for example, in this particular instance, you know, Trickster, and it was actually a cosmetic that was just a physical, literal different outfit for a different day of the week, whatever, for Trickster, I would be significantly more happy with that than rather than this weird Fortnite bollocks that's now being added to the game, dude. Like, it's really fucking stale and soulless, you know? Because they do this as well. They release stuff like this. Like, it's like take Reverence now. Take Overgrowth, right? You'll never see it again. You'll literally never see it again. I don't think they've ever done a pass where they've done a sequel pass to it. So it's just literally those characters from that pass with those skins randomly. You know, there's no expanding lore on it. There's no continuation of it. It's literally just, here's these sparkly fucking designs, never to be seen again. Never to be referenced, never to be seen. That's it. Gone, you know, from the pass. It's like this now with Reverence. There won't be another angelic pass again. Unless they actually commit to it when the actual proper killer comes out, but I doubt they will. It's just random, sporadic fucking shit now that's just so uninteresting and bland that it makes everybody feel like shit when they're grinding it, and that's what we're seeing now, you know. And obviously what these other people are saying on Reddit, that some people are coming out and saying it now, but that's always been something that I've always said that for fucking years, man. I preferred it when they were just the passes were about the actual killers, they were about the actual survivors. It was actually, you know, it was them, you know. Now it's just turning a K-pop murderer into a fucking shoehorned, very shitly designed angel, fallen angel, corrupted divinity, you know, all that kind of stuff. What fucking relevance does it have? You know? He still uses his default blades as well, because we're too fucking lazy to change killer particle effects or killer powers, you know? And obviously, I've touched on that in the previous video, because every time you say something like that, there's always the fucking people who rush to behaviour's defence in that instance and say, oh, but it's a coding issue. It's a coding issue. They can't do it. You know, the code from this game is from 2016. Guess what? Newsflash, we're in 2025. Yeah. We're in 2025 at the top of the genre. Right? So, as far as I'm concerned, mate, as somebody who has high standards, because I'm an ex-Evolve player. If you've not seen Evolve, that game came out a year before Dead by Daylight did, and that game looks better than fucking Dead by Daylight does 10 years after it's fucking dead, right? So, for me, personally, that's a fucking non-issue, mate. You need to fix it, as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a shit if we don't get content for a cycle, right? If we actually fix the game and we make background improvements to the game to the point where you can actually change animations in-game, you can change killer powers in-game, I'd be fine with that. I would literally be fine with that. I would encourage that. You know? Because it's 2025, fellas, and we're still getting no quality pumped into skins whatsoever compared to what's going on in other games in other genres at the moment, you know? And the argument in that instance as well, where people say, oh, it's a different genre. It's a different genre, though. It's a different game. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Why is the genre different? Why is the game different? Why does that have any relevance whatsoever? We're at the top of the asymmetrical genre. It's at the top of the genre. So why does this game get a free pass on being fucking low quality and shit, when everybody else at the top of their respective genres is putting effort in and working for the paycheck? Bullshit. Complete shit. Every fucking time, dude, somebody comes and fucking defends them like that. Bullshit. And now, ladies and gentlemen, after we've covered, the cosmetic situation and reverence and all that kind of shit, the just 3 passes in a row that have been dog shit, I'd like to move on to the current state of the game. Now, obviously, this is going to be probably significantly longer because I've got a lot of things to say about this, and this is where the I told you so portion of the video is going to come into this. I've been ranting about this game for about 2 years solid now. Obviously, I've not had much traction up until very recently. People, YouTube started promoting videos and people have been coming to see the funny British guy rant. Some of the rants, obviously, we took a break from it because towards the end, just before I took my break, I did say it was getting forced. And I did feel like it was just, I was looking for things to rant about rather than actually doing proper rants. So this video is going back to the original one when we did that video when they said, when it was titled, they're going to ask for the labour of love again. That was the one that started, put me on the map with this sort of ranting stuff. But prior to that, I've been doing just literally the same content for years about this game and how it's going in a fucking bad direction. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. I told you so. Because we're literally living in the fucking timeline I warned you all about back in the day, But it was always a case of, oh no, you're just bad. You're bad at the game. Silly little killer main. All this kind of absolute ape-brained shite being spewed into the comment section and jacking each other's cocks off like they always do, But here we are. And the funny side of this, ladies and gentlemen, is these are the very same people now that are all crying en masse on the forums about how they only face blight nurses and ghouls. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. You didn't want to be helped, so here we are. And also, just to add on to that, these are also the people that are crying now about getting Krasu nerfed. So we don't want variance because it's another strong killer, but we also do want variance because we're sick of going against blight nurses and ghouls. But we're on a literal war path by virtue of fucking streamers that just live to parrot nonsense for the sake of a fucking sub count rather than the actual health of the genre in the game. To nerf Krasu into the ground, and it's already began. We've got the second wave of Krasu nerfs that have come to the game now, which basically make it so that the pallet vaulting in head mode is fucking useless, because it now puts an arbitrary lockout mechanic at the end of the vault, so she vaults, and then she just awkwardly stands still for a split second, which is a lot of time in the actual game, so that by the time you actually get over that, and you're freed from the lockout mechanic at the end of the vault, the survivor will be all the way around the other side of whatever loop it is 90% of the time, and then it's literally fucking useless. So she might as well not even have the vault mechanic anymore. So now she has to break pallets whenever she's in head mode, which requires her to jump out of head mode, and then obviously she gets slowed as well. But here it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do what we always do, what everybody's here for. You're going to hear me rant about the current state of play. Why are we in this mess? Oh, fellas, let me tell you why we're currently in this mess. And this applies to both people on both sides of the fence of this. If you're not going to, listen to reason, if you are an actual hardcore survivor main, then just fucking turn the video off and fuck off. I'm really fucking sick of you, quite honestly. Just fuck off. If you're going to write one of these comments as well at the end of this video where it's like, womp womp, oh, little bro's complaining again, all this kind of brainless fucking Twitter speak in my comment section, your comment will be deleted and you'll just get removed from my video. I don't give a shit. So if you are one of them, fuck off. So we're in this particular instance, ladies and gentlemen, because of these survivor players. This is what I'm talking about. And no, this has nothing to do with us versus them, and it's got nothing to do with being a killer player, because I do actually play survivor myself. And I've got videos of me playing survivor. I just prefer to play killer because obviously I don't have Swift, I don't go in Discord, all that kind of stuff, I'm very much a solo player. And in the very same breath, I'm not discounting the struggles that solo queue is actually in a very shit place at the moment. It is, but it's a case of having to just basically man up and acknowledge that you will die in the 4v1 asim, because it is a team effort, it's a 4v1. But again, this is going to tie into what I'm about to say. So in this particular instance, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to the point now where Behavior's whole design philosophy doesn't really hinge around the actual game balance itself. It's just how can we coddle survivors and how can we nerf killers. The trend over the past couple of releases now, probably about 2 or 3 years, I think 2 or 3 years it's probably been now. It's basically been a case of release killer in broken state, get the money, then listen to all the survivor mains, nerf it into the ground, and you never see it again. That's literally what it is. Back to Blight, Nurse, and Ghoul. You know, Ghoul obviously being a newer entry, but same thing. So we'll start with the most recent addition, ladies and gentlemen, to this particular saga of coddling that's currently the design space for this game. So recently, you may have heard, if you have been playing this game, of the palette density change. This was listed under quality of life as well. That should speak volumes. Where basically, across most of the basic realms in this game, they basically just gave every single fucking tile in the map the high probability of spawning a pallet on it. Some of these loops are new, but a lot of them are very safe pallets as well. So basically what this did, when this was implemented, was it pushed any killer that's M1 doesn't have a dash or a ranged ability to play around pallets. It pushed them even lower out of the actual, you know, the meta itself. And this obviously saw an uptick in Nurse, Blights, and Ghouls being seen. Again, the response to this in obviously recent weeks and the weeks following it was from all the survivor players. I'm so tired of going against Blight, Nurses, and Ghouls, but can we still nerf some of these other killers? Because this is what they do. Everybody goes on about every time a new killer's being added to the game, like Krasu, for example, nerf it, get rid of it. No. I played one game against it, I got killed. No. Nerf it. I need to be able to escape. Nerf it. Yeah. She shouldn't be able to do this around pallets. She shouldn't have this much speed. She shouldn't have this ranged ability. No. No, get rid of it. No. I should be able to press W throughout my entire game and escape. And obviously this is reinforced by all the disingenuous fake fucks at the top of the content creation circuit for this game. Because there's still, some of them are still fucking going on about how the Krasu nerfs aren't enough and all this kind of shit, and oh, she's still strong and all this kind of shit, when what they're actually saying, ladies and gentlemen, to keep it very fucking real, right, as coming from somebody who actually gives a shit about the health of the game, yeah, they're actually just saying, I can't make my fucking content around this, nerf it down to me so I look like a god, right? That's literally what it is, yeah? We're past the point of tasteful restraint at this point, you know? It is what it is. They want to make fucking content on it, right? And that's not how you should be designing the fucking game, boys. It just isn't, you know? Because now we're in this mess. And why we're in this mess is because, in the very same breath, second chances. Everywhere. Second chances for every single fucking bad play they make. Dead hard. DS. Off the record. Shoulder the burden. We're gonna live forever. Unbreakable. Extended borrow time off the hooks at base kit. Extended hook timers at the end game. The recent addition with V, increased to gen speeds, hyper-focus stakeout builds that can end games in 4 minutes. I'll just press your gens better, you know, just press your gens better. Yeah. You know, when you can't traverse and you're literally 115, you've got no way to actually get across the map to other generators. Just press your gens. Yeah. These people try to tell you that you don't have a say in their side of the gameplay because they don't, you know, you don't play Survivor and all that kind of stuff. But it's, you know, if you can put 2 and 2 together here, what I'm trying to say, fellas, you'll understand, you know. So yeah, so gen speeds are now through the roof because V did get a perk 1, 2, 3, 4, which I've actually been seeing getting a surprising amount of play in a lot of my games where it increases gen speeds basically for doing the tambourine. And also increases your teammates' things as well. So when they get the increase as well, you could stack it with Prove Thyself. You can stack it with Stakeout and Hyper Focus. You know, all this kind of stuff, and it literally produces 4-minute games, right? So we've got gen speeds that quick. Okay, so killers unlike Nurse, Blight, and Ghoul, yeah, that don't have traversal means, that don't have reliable chase traversal and things like that, right? Yeah. Why the fuck would anybody, or I, as a killer player, why would I play them? When it's going to take me about 50% of the time that I now have to down one survivor. With the addition of all the palettes, all the hand-holding mechanics, all the iframes for every single fuck-up that these Twitch streamers make, yeah, in their loops and all this kind of stuff, dead ads, DSs, rulebooks, literally everything on top of what's been added to the game now, why would I ever play anything else except Blight Nurse and Ghoul? Where's the viability? Nerf Krasu though, right? Nerf Krasu. Yeah. She's still too strong, fellas. Still too strong. Yeah. It might be out on the channel already. I had a game recently, which will be going out. You'll probably recognise which one it is by the title of it by the time it does actually go out. As I said, I've not actually rendered it at this point in time, but I had a Deathslinger game recently, because obviously I don't like to play meta. I've always, if you were a viewer of me, you'll know that I have a very vocal hatred of being confined to a meta when playing games. This is in any PvP game. I don't like it. I like to play characters that actually interest me as characters, rather than just picking it based on being a fucking numbers game. So obviously I'm playing Deathslinger, who isn't considered meta at the moment, because obviously he's quite weak. And I went against this Survivor team. Now, this particular Survivor team, and you can go and watch this video, but I'm just going to give you the little rundown of it here. This Survivor team played like shit. Played like complete shit. They threw themselves at me, they were going for flashlight saves, all this kind of stuff, and I ended up walking out of this game with a draw. Okay? Now, the reason I ended up walking out of this game with a draw is because I decided a little bit too late into the game to start tunneling. Yeah? Because I also don't like to confine myself to meta playstyles either. I like to try and win on my own merit, rather than just confining myself to find one survivor, chase one survivor, get one survivor out, and then kill the rest of them. It's fucking boring. I had this stint at the time. It was one of the reasons why I stopped playing IDV, because it was the same thing there as well. But I've said this in the past. That's a time-based ASIM issue. The time-based ASIM is the worst ASIM you can make. Evolve, an ASIM that came out in 2015, the one that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, solved the balance issues in that regard, because it was about a boss fight. It was an ASIM that was a boss fight simulator. So in that particular instance, you would only actually ever have to balance the monster's actual raw power level with his HP and his damage, and just a slight perk synergy, because there was only 9 perks in that game as well. Same on the Hunter side, how much damage they do with the weapons and all that kind of stuff, how much health the Hunters have globally, all that kind of stuff. Very little in comparison to actually have to consider when you're balancing your game, because there's not, it's only one monster in a game as well, so you're only balancing that monster against a Hunter team, not against everything that's in the game. So when it comes to time-based ASIMs, ladies and gentlemen, basically what happened was I made some very nice predicts in this particular game with the Deathslinger, and I mentioned at the end of that video that investing hours into playing Killer in this game is basically a time lost thing, because it just doesn't mean anything anymore. It literally doesn't mean anything. You can play literally perfect as a Killer in this game these days, and it literally doesn't mean anything. Because they'll have second chances, they'll have gen speeds on the side, literally everything, That's the state it's got into, because again, we're making the game for streamers rather than the actual player base itself. And this is the reason why, on both sides of the fence, all the years are now being really pushed into this us versus them narrative, because they're fucking pushing it with the streamers. It started with all these wankers who play Survivor and do the videos about bullying killers and all this kind of shit. That's what kicked it off at the very beginning, and when it became an us versus them thing with the game, because they're fucking cancer. They really fucking do my head in, dude. Some of the streamers that do play this game, they're not awesome like they paint themselves to be. They're literal fucking dickheads, a lot of them. It's the most disingenuous type of content you can make, dude. I've always been somebody who's always said in this game that you should get rid of perks from the game. You should actually get rid of perks, and you should just literally balance the game around the killer itself and have a flat gen speed in the game. No regression, no progression, increase in progression, that kind of thing. Because the game would be significantly better. It would be a lot more easy to balance, and we'd actually be in a much better place, I think, if we didn't have the perks. Adding number changes to your game, literally every single patch for 10 years, is asking for imbalance, So that's the situation we're now in with it, where there's so many different factors that go into the game now, and we're literally making these perks and design choices based around the top 3 killers, rather than literally just trying to bring everything down onto one level. It's just literally an elevator going up. but centered with Blight, Nurse, and Ghoul on that elevator, you know? So that, and then everything else that isn't Blight, Nurse, and Ghoul gets pushed progressively more and more to the weaker side of things, and then they can't compete. So then in your Survivor games, you're only ever going to see Blight, Nurse, and Ghoul. This is exactly what I said back in the day, that asking for second chances, asking for carry mechanics on Survivor is a very bad thing for this game, because it is. All these big streamers won't tell you that, because they're more concerned with their fucking sub counts, boys. I don't say it for no reason. I'm not even saying this to hate on these people, like the streamers themselves as people. I'm not. It's just literally what you do when you're at the top, you know? You chase subscribers, you chase views, you know? I had a very brief glimpse of it, and I didn't even get that many views, you know? When we went over to IDV, and I felt like I actually had a genuine community shit, and then when I stopped playing IDV, I had a fucking withdrawal depression with it, because I felt like I needed to keep playing it, and then obviously I kept getting stressed out, and I kept, you know, doing the same sort of thing where I was doing basically the same thing for IDV that I was with DbD, where I just started ranting when I was doing it. But I kept doing it because I was kept chasing views, because that's what YouTube was pushing me for, you know. That's what they're doing. But in their case, it's pushing the narrative that X killer is overpowered, nerf it, and then Behaviour listens to it, because Behaviour don't fucking playtest the game. They don't act like an actual developer, you know. You wake up every morning, turn the fucking computer on, load up the Twitter feed, and start analysing the worst fucking takes for the game imaginable, mate. And then they go to the office and they fucking implement it. That's where we are. Increased pallet density. The very closely dodged bullet that was the anti-slugging and anti-tunneling update, which would have fucking fucked the game up royally, you know? Like, it's genuinely insane, dude. In a time-based ASIM and in a PvP game, you cannot tell one side how to play it to benefit the other. It's fucking stupid. It's literally stupid, dude. It's so fucking dumb. It's just... It's baffling that that shit was even fucking nearly greenlit, honestly. But again, this is what I'm talking about, because they don't playtest it. They don't fucking play this game. And what they are playing of it, they're at fucking low MMR. If you're developing a game that's this popular, and you're at the top of your genre, right, in the office, in work hours, you should be booting up the game in Steam, on the game, the actual Steam platform itself, and just queuing in fucking matches and playing it. You should have people that are assigned to do that job for whatever shift length it is, 6-7 hours a day, you know, as an actual working job, a playtester, you know. You should have people doing that. I'd fucking do it, you know. I know that sounds dangerous, because obviously, you know, I know there are, because I see things from both sides. I know when I say that, there would have been people that were like, oh yeah, but you'd only say things based on killer and all this kind of shit. Wouldn't. I'd play both sides of the game. And then I'd take what I'd learned from them games, and I'd put it side by side. I'd look at what my survival rate was on the survivor side of things, and then I'd look about what my kill rate was on the killer side of things, based on what characters I was writing. You know, I'd have a little notepad next to me. I'd write down the name of the killers I was playing, what the results were, all this kind of stuff. I'd try and keep a mental note of what went on in them games, pass it on, write a couple of paragraphs about it just to keep it there, you know, so I don't forget it. And then at the end of the day, you discuss it, you send it to the team, you discuss it with them. You say, right, here's what the games I've played today, here's the results, here's my thoughts on it, right? For both Survivor and Killer. Yeah? Then, generally, that will probably make you have a generally better idea of your actual product that you're making as well, because you'll actually be playing it. You'll know how it plays. You'll have 7 or 8 hours of gaming under your belt there, so you'll be able to see a good actual routine of your game, how it's played, what your games are like, you know. And obviously you'd have people, more than one person doing this. It wouldn't just be one person in your entire company, as I say, but that's just what you need to do. It's literally playtesting and QA testing, but based on what's being added to the game and what they're trying to greenlight, fellas, no, they don't have one. They literally don't have one. And if they do have one, they are survivor-sided. It's a fucking survivor main who's doing it, because of the anti-slugging and anti-tuggling patch. That would have killed the game. It don't matter what fucking side of the player base you're on, mate. That would have killed the game. Because you would literally, 1,000% in that instance, you would only ever see Blight, Nurse and Ghoul. All the time. There would be no difference. Not a single other killer would have ever been played, ever again. I say that with 100% confidence. You wouldn't. Literally wouldn't. So when we're all asking why we're only facing blight nurses and ghouls, the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that because we just keep adding hand-holding mechanics, increasing pallet density, adding things to base kit for survivors rather than them needing to run perks, so that survivors in this day and age is currently running about 5 or 6 perks realistically, even though you can just pick 4 of them. You're getting more and more at base kit as the patches go by and the months go by. It's not how you do it. It's literally not how you do it. There are other issues that need to be addressed. Gen speeds are one of them. Because if there was actually slower gen speeds, you would actually see a little bit more variance in killers as well. Because slower killers would have more time to play the game. And then that would push the weaker killers into more viability, But then in that particular instance, when you do slow gen speeds down, you then do nerf Blight, Nurse and Ghoul appropriately, So that then they're not as fast as catching people in chases, And I'm not talking about slapping mandatory fucking lockout mechanics every time the killer uses the power as well, because that's just a really shit and cheap way to do it. I won't say how, because I'm not a game developer, but that's the cut and dry of what you'd need to do, You need to bring it down. Think of like a staircase. It's a staircase at the moment. You've got Blight, Nurse and Ghoul at the top of the staircase, right? You've got survivors in the middle of the staircase. And then at the bottom, you've got most of the killers. Right? That's literally it. What you need to do is pull it so that the killers at the bottom of the staircase reach the same level as the survivors, and the killers at the top of the staircase reach the same levels as those survivors. That's it. That's what you need to do. You nerf the top, you buff the bottom, you keep the middle the fucking same. Don't touch it. Yeah? Because that's where we are at the moment, because of how many second chances the survivors have, right? And all that kind of stuff. The stuff that they've got base kit, and obviously the gen speeds that are working for them and all that kind of stuff, I know it's an hard thing to say that a lot of killers still need buffs given the current game state, but that's what it is. It's basically like racing a train down a fucking tunnel with a light at the end of it. That is the train. If we run forward fast enough with buffing the weaker killers to a point where they're actually viable, we'll beat that train and we'll get out of the tunnel on the other side. And then you will see less blights and nurses in your games. Because people will start picking new things because they're actually playable, Every time a new killer comes out, or any time there's a new perk in the game that sees meta on the killer side, the answer, believe it or not, is never, I won't say never, but it's not always 100% of the time to nerf it. Because that's where we are. And that's why why I have so much hate for all these big streamers, because they're just parroting that shit, and everybody's fucking eating it up. And that's why we are currently here right now. Because it's literally Twitch clip farming gameplay. That's how they're making the game. Because they just push it all the time. Nerf this killer. Can I have more iframes? I need to make me Twitch content. Fucking dog shit, dude. Normalise being skilled at games, I'd be far more impressed watching a streamer that was actually good at the game rather than just being carried by fucking iframes and stun mechanics and throwing grenades in faces and all this kind of shit. Fucking shit content, dude. I really don't care. It just is. It's so fucking boring. Because every one of them sounds the fucking same as well. They try to copy each other. There it is anyway. It's just, that's the current state we're in, fellas. I fucking said it for years. I've said it for years. This was where we would be. Nerf killers, buff survivors. Killers are the evil ones. No, don't listen to them. No. They've never had it easier. Killer in this current game state. You've got to have a 60% win rate, or you're just bad. Don't matter that in my games I'm just running around with survivors and making friends with them. I know what I'm talking about when I play killer. Yeah, it is what it is, fellas, at the end of the day. But we're here because of the streamers. It is what it is. It literally is what it is. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I really don't care. I care more about the game itself, and I care more about the genre itself rather than what some big fucking content creator thinks of me. Yeah? So, as far as I'm concerned, mate, they're an obstacle, from my perspective. Because it is what it is. We're here because of the Twitch content. Flashbangs, C4s, Dead Hard, Shoulder the Burden, all these kind of interfering mechanics, Last Stand, all this kind of shit. It's all for Twitch content. Immersion breaking, shoehorned bollocks designed for clip farming. That's all it is. Take me back to 2016 DbD, fellas. obviously with the content we've got now, but minus the perks. It's fucking miles better, dude. Back in the day, this game. It's gone fucking downhill recently. Both the passes that are just adding sparkly shit every fucking release, and the fact that we've had literally like a year straight now of just shit passes, and then now we're adding more pallets to maps, now we're adding, you know, second chances base kit, you know, all this kind of shit, and we're all scratching our heads as to why there's only 3 killers being played. Absolutely clueless. But there it is. See you on the next one, fellas.